Ladies and gentlemen, introducing the pride of Youngstown, Ohio, the former lightweight champion of the world, future inductee into the International Boxing Hall of Fame, with a pro record of 29 wins, 23 by knockout. You're in the Boom Boom Room with Ray Boom Boom Mancini.
Welcome to the Boom Boom Room, our premiere show. How about that? Our premiere show. And I want to welcome all of you that are listening out there. And thank you for tuning in. And I'm sure a lot of you are tuning in because you have interest in what I'm going to say, what I have to say, what the show is about. My goal is to make this, one, informative. Second, to make it educational. And third, and most important, entertaining. Because if it ain't entertaining, what are we doing it for? And I'm here joined with me by my cut man, Cornell Bogdan. Cornell, I mean, seriously, if it ain't going to be fun, what are we doing it for?
Hey, Ray, the big question I have for you, and welcome back, champ. It's so great to see you, man. You look great.
Thank you.
Your attitude is wonderful. What do you think of this freaking weather?
Man, like I said, I knew on Front Street what I was getting myself into.
Yeah.
I knew when I was coming back home in November that what I was in for, and it's part of the deal. You come home in November, you're here for the beginning of winter, and you're going to be freezing your ass off, and for quite a long time.
Yes.
And but it's good to be home. I love my city of Youngstown. I love being home, and around the holidays was great. It's after the holidays end that you start thinking, what did I do? But you know what? It's been great. It's been great. The people have been very receptive and very, very embracing to me, and seem to be glad I'm home. A lot of them. I'm not so sure for everybody, but most of them seem to be glad I'm home, and that I'm trying to do things here in town.
This has been a part of your plan for a long time to move back to Youngstown. Yeah. This isn't something that you just thought of like over the last couple of months.
I left home 30 years ago to go to L.A. I moved out in June of 1985, and I always told everybody that eventually I was coming back again. I just didn't know when, but I knew I was coming back home. And through the years, people, say, how do you enjoy it in California? I said, man, I love it out there. It's great because that's where I have to be. That's where the business is. But over the last 5 or 6 years, I realized that the business for independent films is not in L.A. Hasn't been for quite a while. And all the people I've been dealing with for financing for independent films has been back east in New York and in Washington, D.C. And what really made me say that the time is right to come home now is that early in November, I was dealing with a producing friend of mine in New York, and we're involved in a project together to start shooting in Youngstown the beginning of April.
Oh, very
feature
nice.
film, and we're dealing with Wall Street guys. Wall Street guys are coming out to play again, and so he asked me. He said, well, can't you fly in for a day? Can't you come in? Mm-hmm. And I said, no, man, I'm not down the street. I'm 3,000 miles away. Mm-hmm. But I realized then I need to get closer back east.
Well, what is really cool is now Youngstown, Ohio is again the hub of the Ray Mancini world. That is.
Well, it's great. Well, I've always told people, I'm based here. It isn't like I'm stuck here because, it was like when I was fighting. After I won the title, I didn't have to be in New York anymore. I was based in Youngstown, then I was traveling from Youngstown, but this was my base. So it's kind of the same thing now. I'm going to be based here, but I'll be traveling out west again and wherever I'm going to be going. And in fact, my sons, my one son's in Colorado State. He's a freshman, and my other son still lives in California, and as my daughter does. So I need to get back there and see my babies, So I'll be going back quite a bit. But instead of being committed to a year lease, I'll be going from month to month.
Well, champ, you have a couple of really cool guests coming up later on. If anybody has heard of these names, they include Mickey Rourke and Ed O'Neill. We'll get to that in a little bit. But here is a part of the show that I'm going to like every week. This is Ask the Champ. And I'm telling you what, we have a ton of emails here, Ray. And how do you get a part of this? Well, you can email us at boomboomroom570@gmail.com. That's boomboomroom570@gmail.com. Or you can text Ray at 330-333-1570 here at WKBN. Are you ready, Ray?
I'm ready.
All right,
I'm ready.
man. Ray, I used to watch you play baseball at Pemberton Park. I mean, this is no disrespect, but I think you've been an even better baseball player than a boxer. You had a tremendous speed in the outfield. You could really turn on a fastball at the plate. Did you really give your baseball career a serious consideration at the time? And welcome back to Youngstown, and that is Sal in Youngstown.
Well, first of all, Sal, I just want to thank you. I know I would never take that as any disrespect. I take that as a compliment. I truly appreciate the fact that you thought I was a good baseball player. No, to be honest with you, when I was actually offered when I was 18 after the Connie Mack tournament, which everyone knows is the biggest tournament in the country for 16 to 18-year-olds, we were runners up here locally.
Mm-hmm.
But since Ohio has the largest Connie Mack tournament of any state in the country, so the top two teams here go to the regional tournament. And we went to the regional tournament at that time. And I was actually had a pretty good, I won the All-State center field. I made All-State tournament team here for that year, and I made All-State team center fielder. And I was actually offered, an offer with the Toronto Blue Jays.
Mm-hmm.
And I was very honored, very flattered. But obviously I knew I was going to turn pro. I was just waiting for my baseball career to end, so to speak, see how far we can go, and before I decided to turn pro. And I never took it serious in the sense that I was going to go anywhere as a baseball player. Not that I thought I couldn't, because look, if I wasn't a baseball, people always say to me, if you weren't a boxer, what else you think you would have done? I said, I'd like to think I'd have been successful in whatever I did.
Right.
I'd like to think that I could have played baseball. And I think, look, whether you want to call it, whatever you want to call it, I believe I've been successful, whatever it was. If it was baseball, I'd have been a successful baseball player. Guys at that time that I admire were guys my size. And those were guys that were, they were having long, prosperous careers in the big leagues. So I like to think I could have done whatever I put my heart and mind to.
Ray, did you have any idea Warren Zevon was writing a song about you? I'm a huge Warren Zevon fan. Give us a Warren Zevon story. That's from Rachel in Warren, Ohio.
Well, Rachel, thank you for writing. Rachel, first of all, no, I did not know they were doing it. And how I found out was when the album came out. When the album came out, Sentimental Hygiene.
That's correct.
It was his song, his album, Sentimental Hygiene. And Chris Mancini, Henry Mancini's son, who was an executive over at Island Records.
And no relation to you.
No relation. Yeah. No relation at all. People always say, you really know Henry Mancini? I go, yeah, Uncle Henry did well for himself.
Yeah, he did real good.
Tell you another story. When I first moved to L.A., June of 85, I moved in Brentwood, the corner of Bundy and Montana. Anybody who's visited might know Brentwood, corner of Bundy and Montana. It was a brand new building, and I was like the third or fourth person in. And who lived right next door was Monica Mancini, Henry Mancini's daughter. She was she's a torch singer. She does a lot of the nightclubs in L.A. and dinner clubs, and she's a wonderful singer. And she was right next door to me. I was on 108, she was on 107.
Oh, wow.
And mixed up our mail. And talked to who came in and moved into me in 109, next door a couple months after, Jason Bateman, good guy. And then who moved in months later down the hall was Jimmy Smits.
Oh, my
And
goodness.
Jimmy Smits was in the heyday of his career when he did, he actually did L.A. Law, wonderful actor, and a real good guy. Jason Bateman, we know how his career's taken off, so he's a good guy. But anyhow, Chris Mancini was executive over at Island Records, who put out the album, and he called me and he said, look, Warren Zevon's a big fan of yours, and he put out the song, and I don't know, is that a problem for you? I said, no, not at all. I'm very honored. I mean, I'm a big Warren Zevon fan, because people don't understand, Warren Zevon was alternative before there was such a word.
True.
And, the type of music he did, and all the, Lawyers, Wives, and Money, and Werewolves, of course. And
Sleep When I'm Dead.
Sleep When I'm Dead, exactly.
Mr. Bad Example. He had such great titles.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
And so I was honored. I was truly honored. And when I heard the song, I said, wow, man, that's something. And for a long time, it was the number one requested song in the New York, New Jersey area for a long time, for over a 6-week period. Because of that, I asked if I could meet him, and we met about a couple months later. I was in L.A., and he was doing a video for one of the songs on the album called Leave My Monkey Alone.
Oh, yeah.
Leave My Monkey Alone, that he did with George Clinton.
Yeah, very good.
So George Clinton was down there, and I went to see him in a studio in Hollywood, gave me directions and everything. I go down there, I go inside, boom, he's in there, they're rehearsing a video, Warren Zevon with George Clinton, Atomic Dog, you know, and who's the choreographer of the video? Paula Abdul. So I met Paula Abdul, Warren Zevon, the Atomic Dog, George Clinton, and we spent the afternoon. I was just, talking, watching them do the rehearsal for the video. It was wonderful.
I could not imagine George Clinton and Warren Zevon in the same room.
Yeah.
I mean, there had to be a haze. There had to be.
Great, just a great guy. And I stayed in touch with him and actually spoke to him a couple of months before he passed away. And he just was in great spirits. He had a great view on life, period.
You know, what is really funny, too, about that song, Ray, is it is called Boom Boom Mancini, but Bobby Chacon thinks it's about him.
Yeah.
He really does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, my friend Bobby Chacon, God bless him, I love him to death, and, unfortunately he's not doing as well as I had hoped. It's unfortunate, but it's nature of the beast. Boxing, but look, we all, nobody comes home unscathed in boxing. We all leave a piece of ourselves. It's just to what extent. But Bobby, when he always hears that song, he loves that song, and it gives him great thrill that he's part of it. And the fact he does think about that it's about him, let him think that. That's best.
If you'd like to send a question into the champ, the email address is boomboomroom570@gmail.com or text him 330-333-1570. You're in the Boom Boom Room with Ray Mancini on 570 WKBN. Let's head back to the Boom Boom Room. Ray, interview, line 1.
On the Boom Boom Room is a very, very dear friend of mine, one of my oldest friends. In fact, I met this next guest the first week I was in L.A. I went out to L.A. in June of 1985. I met him the first week through another mutual friend. And we just stayed close friends ever since.
Who's probably not a mutual friend anymore.
Let me just say, without further ado, one of our finest actors in American cinema, by far, but also one of my dear friends and one of the most stand-up guys I know, Mr. Mickey Rourke. Mickey, what's up, my brother?
Hey, Champ.
What's happening?
Going on, Champ?
Well, I'm here in Youngstown, as you know. And I'm just starting a radio show called The Boom Boom Room because I'm bored as heck and have nothing else to do. And I'm trying to make a living here. And I'm freezing my ass off. But other than that, I just want to call and, I'm trying to make you look. I'm trying to load it with all the heavy guns the first couple weeks. You're my first.
Listen,
you're my first guest.
Blue years ago, there used to be a place where Dean Martin and Sinatra and all them used to sing called the Boom Boom Room. It was I used to be a pool boy at Fontainebleau when I was a kid, and they had downstairs all the rich people would go, and there was a place called the Boom Boom Room, and all the high rollers used to go there, and Sinatra and Sammy Davis, they'd all used to sing there.
Yeah. But I'm good to be back here, and I love my city of Youngstown, and so I'm just trying to get a couple things going. So, hey, let's talk about the fight game. Now, let me see. Who have you been seeing in the gym? Anybody lately?
Well, it's funny because I trained down at Freddie Roach's gym, the Wild Card.
Right.
And it's a fun, good gym. It's like as a kid growing up, when I was an amateur, I used to go to the Fifth Street Gym when I was like 12 years old. And back then in Miami was a happening fight town. You had Ali training there, Jimmy Ellis, Bonavena, the Corey brothers, Luis Rodriguez, Duran would be there in and out. And now they knocked the place down. Unfortunately, it should have been a landmark. But it's funny because when I went back to New York a couple of weeks ago, I went to Gleason's gym, which is now located in Brooklyn.
Right.
And it's not Gleason's like it used to be. But the wild card out here is Freddie's got a good thing going. He's got. I think he's got about 5 or 6 world champions. He's got all the silver and gold medal Russian boxers, So you get great work there. People go up there and just watch. A lot. You got Miguel Cotto there, and Pacquiao and Ruslan Provodnikov, and you know, a lot of Ray Beltran, a lot of really great fighters.
Well, let me ask you something. You know, I know you're a fight fan also. What are the fights that you want to see coming up?
The heavyweight division for, you know, I think ever since Riddick Bowe and Lennox Lewis and Tyson and Holyfield kind of are you know, out of the game. It's a weak, you know, it's been a weak division and a very unexciting division, really.
That's for sure. That's for sure.
It would be nice to see some new blood on the heavyweights. The rest of the divisions are all really great. You know, fantastic. You know, like watching Cotto, you know, Cotto's weight class, whatever weight class he fights at, Pacquiao and Mayweather and Provodnikov and that group. So, you know, the lower weight classes have stepped up and kind of taken up the slack. But I think, you know, for boxing to stay as a mainstream thing, you really need a lively heavyweight division, which for some reason for the last decade hasn't been there.
No, you're absolutely right.
You know, but is boxing, you know, it's you know, like it's changed, you know, greatly in the last several years. You know, you don't have I think Petronelli and Angelo both died the same year,
right,
and
right.
I was just up in Boston talking to the boxing commissioner to see if I could fight in Boston. And he says, "Listen, as long as you're Irish and breathing, you can fight in this town." I said, "Okay, great."
Well, that's great, man.
I'm saying, you know, even the promoter in Boston, because Boston was a big fight town for a long time. And even they're having trouble putting cards together. So, you know, I think boxing, you know, the whole MMA thing has exploded, and they sell out the venues. I mean, they mainly sold out Boston because of the Irish crowd with Conor McGregor. But
yeah, that's right. I actually saw the kid fight.
Yeah.
He is entertaining. He is entertaining.
He's entertaining. He's it's you know, it's like what they say about everybody. It's his time right now.
Right.
If you follow the sport, I mean, you know, there's a champion who hasn't lost in a decade. Aldo, which will be a big venue, a big fight.
Sure.
But as far as Boston, you know, the commissioner was telling me, you know, they are having trouble putting cards together.
Sure.
As is a lot of cities, I think.
You're right.
No.
For those of you who just tuned in, I'm talking to Mickey Rourke, actor extraordinaire, and an accomplished boxer. Now, my friend Mickey, people don't understand. I've told them often. I've seen you in the gym training, and I tell them I'm very proud of you, man. You work your ass off in the gym. I make no bones about it. You train hard. You do what you're supposed to do. And
well,
you know,
as long as you don't call me the lumberjack anymore.
No, I will tell you that.
Or I would just try to get in the squat and wind up a big left hook. The lumberjack.
No, but I tell people
I got beyond that one.
Right, but I tell people you're very, very knowledgeable about the fight game.
Well, I started out as a kid as an amateur, you know.
Right.
I had 47 amateur fights, you know, down there with Angelo back in the day, and it's a sport that I liked because it was a one-on-one sport, and I was always very fortunate. You know, I had really good trainers when I first came out to Los Angeles. I worked with the late Bill Slayton, who was a hell of a guy.
Great guy.
I tell people to this day, if I could have picked my father, I would have picked Bill Slayton. You know, he was this old black dude that was just, he'd give you the shirt off his back. I mean, he's that kind of guy. Right. And actually, years later, after 10 years of training there, I said, you know, Bill, I always wanted to turn pro. And I was like 33 years old, and he says, I don't want to see it. Said, come on, Bill. He goes, Mickey, come on. And what he did actually is he said, look, if you want to have the fight, he says, because we really had a father-son relationship, you know.
Right.
And he didn't want to see it. He said, and so he actually introduced me and gave me Freddie Roach's phone number, who was parking cars out in Las Vegas. Make a long story short, I call up Freddie Roach. I saw him fight a couple of times. Tough kid. I used to love it about Freddie. He'd get ready to fight Camacho or you or whoever the hell he was fighting at the time. And they'd said, well, Freddie Roach is in the dressing room. He's da-da-da-da-da-da. And Camacho's entered the ring. Roach is in the dressing room, and he's already bleeding.
Oh man!
But Freddie would go to war, and I mean, actually, he fought. You know, he's known as a trainer, but I know he had over 300 amateur fights.
Mickey,
and he fought for the world title 3 times.
Right. People don't remember. I tell people, he got me ready for my title fight as much as anybody. The last 2 weeks we had to go into Vegas a little earlier than planned. And my trainer, Murphy Griffith, was very close with Eddie Futch and said, "You got anybody who can work with my guy?" And he says, "Well," he said, "I got this little kid over here. He's only 130 pounds, but he'll give you all the work you want." And it was Freddie.
Yeah.
And I tell people, this is a true story. I said, so Freddie, we were going for more for speed the last couple of weeks. Freddie slapped the crap out of me for 2. I ain't kidding you. He slapped me around for about 10 days, and then all of a sudden, the last couple of days, I started catching up to him, and I knew I was ready because I was able to catch up to him. People don't understand. Freddie was as tough as they come.
Say about Freddie Roach. Freddie Roach, he takes a lick and keeps on ticking.
Oh man, tough as they come. Tough as they come.
Freddie's one of those rare guys that where he made the transition from it's like an actor going into directing. There's not a lot of guys that can do it.
Right.
Freddie was able to take his knowledge, which was a lot, his experience, and most of all his ethic as working hard, and incorporate that as a trainer. And when you're in the corner with Freddie, it's because I don't have to tell you, a fight is won not on the night of the fight. It's won all the days and hours you put into the fight, weeks you put in, the 12 weeks you put in. And that starts in the gym with your trainer, with yourself, and then it's also Freddie in the corner. It's a calm, quiet corner where there's one guy talking, and when Freddie's giving you direction or instruction, you're listening to him and you're looking at him.
That's for sure.
I noticed a lot in a lot of fights. I see guys and their trainer talking, and they got the second talking, and it's like you got 2 different guys giving direction.
No, you're absolutely right, Mick. And I tell people, correct me if I'm wrong, you see a lot of these guys, they look where the camera's at. They're looking for the camera. Before they even start talking, they're looking for the camera.
Or they're not hearing a goddamn word because, first of all, they're all over the place. Freddie's just has a way of getting his fighter to hear him in the corner, which then and there, if you're in shape, the fight can be won or lost, in the corner.
Let me ask you something. What do you think of Matisse and Proudnikov? What do you think in that fight?
Well, here's the deal. I don't think there's anybody that's got a harder right hand than Proudnikov, and Proudnikov very much fits Freddie's style because Freddie only knew, same as like you, the way you fought. Freddie knows one way to go, and that's forward. He didn't step. He doesn't step sideways. He doesn't say. You went a little to the left and the right.
I try to make him miss once in a while. I try to make him miss once in a while.
You had really good defense the way you held your guard. Ruslan comes straight ahead, and it's straight ahead all night long. One of his biggest assets is he's a hard worker in the gym. He comes from a place in Siberia where
that's all he's got.
This time gives him right now a time to make enough money where in 2 years from now he can get out of the game and have some money. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah.
And the kid knows that.
And go back there and live good.
And going back and live good where with the amount of money that he makes living in Siberia.
Sure.
He's a hell of a warrior. He comes to fight. He's a finisher, and he's a finisher.
Right.
If he hurts you a little bit, he's going to finish you.
Right. Well, to give me the wind up over here because I'm keeping you too long, I guess. But let me ask you something. Tell me what you got coming up.
Tell them to shut up because they don't know what my daily price is. Okay?
So what do you got coming up? What do you got coming up? Any films coming up? What do you fights?
It's interesting that you bring this up because I love boxing. Boxing is my favorite sport. I live it. I breathe it. And I love doing it. What I don't like doing is boxing movies because it's so hard to get it right.
Right.
Stallone was very lucky with Rocky because he did a he did a portrayal of a fighter almost as a character, I mean, a quasi cartoon character, okay?
Right.
And so it was almost like a fantasy kind of thing. Where then, on the other hand, Scorsese and De Niro did Raging Bull, which they shot in a very artistic, stylized way.
Right.
But boxing movies as a whole are a pain in the ass to make because, first of all, you're usually working with people that don't know a lot about boxing, including the stunt coordinators.
Right.
And it makes it hard because you've got to shoot it the right way. You've got to catch the right angles. You've got to make sure that you have another actor or stunt guy who's the opponent, and they're coordinated enough to, first of all, to look like a fighter, and they're hard as hell to shoot. So I just got offered a role of playing Johnny Tapia's trainer, and I actually didn't really want to make the movie because I just don't want to make because boxing movies are really hard to make. You saw when they did Your Life Story.
Yeah.
You know what they go through, and you're dealing with a lot of people that might be boxing enthusiasts, but once they get behind the camera, or once you're doing it, it's a nightmare to shoot boxing scenes to get them to look right.
Yeah, you're right.
So there was a guy who did a documentary on Johnny's story, and actually, Johnny in his later years trained with Freddie, so I got I got to be very friendly with Tapia. I was hoping to God they were going to hire and give an opportunity, let's say, to an unknown Latino actor.
Right.
But they hired a kid from England to play Johnny Tapia. So that sort of went, well, you don't get any more street or ghetto than Johnny. And I'm going, how the hell is this guy going to pull off playing, So, that's going to be their problem to figure out. But
That's right.
It'll be fun, and I don't have to get in shape to play the trainer. So hopefully it'll be a fun 10 days that I'll do.
Well, I got to know Johnny a little bit, and he was a sweet kid, very, very sweet kid. That's one thing I noticed.
Yeah.
And he was a fan of mine. He said, "I told man I love your work," And I did.
Well, what we loved about Johnny was the same about like with you. He'd be fighting his ass off for 9 rounds. You don't know which way the fight's going to go. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, the last 4 rounds, he's knocking the crap out of the guy.
Right. Now he was a special guy.
It was a desire inside of him. It was something that you can't put a name on here. He just had this fire inside of him and this will to win.
Mick, you just said it. You're absolutely right. But the other problem is, and it is the problem, is that he had a lot of demons, too. A lot of demons inside.
And he had a lot of demons.
I told people,
he was,
couldn't get rid of his demons.
I'm not going to get into that.
No.
I know what they were.
I know. He couldn't get rid of his demons.
I don't even know how the hell he was able to lace on a pair of gloves half the time and he get in the kind of shape that he got in.
Right.
And he let it all. Johnny let it all hang out.
There was no doubt.
Inside the ring and outside.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's for sure. Well, my brother, I appreciate it. I can't tell you how much I appreciate you being my first guest on the Boom Boom Room. How about that?
Champ, it's an honor.
Oh,
I remember your mom and your dad really well, and I told you I did that boxing film that time, and your dad. I came back to the hotel at about 3 a.m, and your dad was in the lobby, and he was looking around, and I go, Mr. Mancini, what are you doing here? And it's 2:30 in the morning. He says, I can't find room 3. I forget what room I'm in. And I told you, and you got all upset with your mother. Had your mother come out.
Yeah, man. Hey, but he appreciated it. He loved it.
Lenny was the best. He was great. Yeah.
Thank you. I can't wait to see you again. I can't wait to see you, and I'll let you know when I'm coming back out west, or you let me know when you're coming back east.
God bless you.
All right, brother. You too.
Yourself.
I love you, man. Take care.
All right, love you. Bye-bye.
Can't thank him enough. Our first guest, Mickey Rourke, actor extraordinaire, the first guest here on the Boom Boom Room. I'm your host, Ray Boom Boom Mancini, right here at 570 WKBN.
The Boom Boom Room with Ray Mancini is brought to you in part by the Ray Boom Boom Mancini Foundation. Ray, tell us a little bit about your foundation.
Well, our foundation was started a couple months ago, And the reason is because I've always wanted to start my own charitable foundation. I've been associated with so many others through the years that I always felt like, yeah, I want to do that. I want to create my own. So we recently did. And our mission statement is simply this: to keep it local, to help individuals who can't help themselves, to help other organizations who do so much for the local community, such as Father O'Neill's Difference Makers, great organization. I'm proud to be associated with them. The Purple Cat, my man does a wonderful job over there with these young individuals, gives them a chance to have a job and gives them a great sense of pride within themselves. The Hope House, which does exactly that. It gives hope to families that are fractured. So it's about integration in the families as opposed to separation. So Carol and company does a wonderful job, and I'm very proud to be associated with them.
Your foundation cannot exist without fine sponsors. Who would you like to talk about?
Well, first and foremost, the first person who sent me a check was the wonderful Denise DeButler York. Denise, I can't thank you enough for your kindness and your belief in what I'm trying to do. I've helped through the years. I've tried to do things like she's done. She's associated with everything, and she's a wonderful, wonderful giving woman. And I want to be that type of person who can help companies, help individuals, who's just associated with everything. Because you want to give back when the local community gives you so much, you want to give back to them. And I know Denise feels that way, and that's exactly how I feel. The people have Youngstown. I've always said the people of Youngstown have had a large part of my success, and I just want to share some of the success with them.
Ray, if someone wants to be a part of your foundation, what do they do?
Well, first and foremost, they can call 330-559-8891 and ask for Maria. Again, 559-8891, or go to www.therayboomboommancinifoundation.com, and we'll be up and running in about 2 weeks. So, but if you could check periodically, www.rayboommancinifoundation, and when it's up and running, please donate whatever you can, and we'd love to make you a part of this show, and help any other way you can to give back to local community.
The Ray Boom Boom Mancini Foundation. It's part of the Boom Boom Room here on 570 WKBN. We return to the Boom Boom Room with Ray Mancini. Interview line 2.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, my next guest here on the Boom Boom Room, the premier show, is not only one of my dearest friends, someone I admire very much, the greatest actor from the city of Youngstown. How many have we had? I don't know. I don't know of anybody who's been a star of 2 major shows in her lifetime. First, he's known as Al Bundy, of course, from Married with Children. Now, as Jay Pritchard from Modern Family, Mr. Ed O'Neill. Eddie! They're going nuts there. People are applauding to go nuts.
I feel like I should sing a song now.
Eddie, what's happening, brother?
How you doing, Ray?
I'm good. I'm freezing my ass off.
Well, we miss you back here, man.
Oh.
You know, I was down at Il Forno the other day, and everybody was asking about you.
Oh, man. And for those of us who've read the books, known as The Joint. That's The Joint.
That's right, The Joint.
And Ed, I come home and people were asking me what I was going to do. I said, I don't know. I have a couple things in a hopper, but one of the things I always wanted to do, I've never done, is to do a live radio show. And obviously a boxing show would be the best thing because I claim to know a little bit about boxing.
Oh, yeah.
But so this is our first show, and you are one of our first guests, and I had to have you on. And so, look, what I tell people is, people don't understand, is you are one of the most knowledgeable boxing people I know. It's not just about fights nowadays, but fights from before. Can you tell us, just give our fans a little update of what some of the best fights you've ever saw?
Well, I mean, I've seen Ray, I've seen so many fights. The reason I'm knowledgeable now is because I didn't take too many punches. You know, I go back, I remember watching the Gillette Cavalcade, that
yeah, sure.
Friday night fights,
Sure.
Pabst Blue Ribbon, and I used to watch those. It was on Fridays, right, with my father.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some terrific fights, you know. And of course, in those days, they still had a lot of the arenas and boxing clubs. Well, in fact, where your dad fought out in Brooklyn, you know.
Right.
He fought Murphy out there. So you got and of course, those guys weren't making the kind of money that the top guys are making today.
No.
So they had to fight often, and they had to learn a lot of different. You know, they had to come up against a lot of different styles, and you know, they were more or less like you used to say, like, you know, lunchbox guys. You know,
yeah,
they were,
sure. Carry lunch to work.
Once a month.
Yeah.
To keep the lights on.
Sure. And let me say, I've told people when you first went to New York, one of the first things you did, or I mean, not one of the first things, but one of the things that really got you some national acclaim was a Broadway show that you did with another good friend of ours, Danny Aiello.
That's right.
Called Knockout.
Yes.
And can you tell us, you know, and so you actually trained, and you got to know some of the fighters in the gym. Didn't you train down at Gleason's?
No, you know where we trained, Ray? We trained down at it was called the Telstar, and it was where all the Latin guys. It was where Arguello trained.
Ah, I see.
Arguello, Jorge Ahumada, remember him?
Oh, Jorge Ahumada, see.
Yeah, and Victor Galindez, and all those guys.
Ahumada was a light heavyweight champ.
That's right.
Yeah.
And they used to train in this gym, and I trained up there, and my guy, the technical advisor, was Jose Torres.
Oh, yes. You told me
who
you
was
got
the ex-light heavyweight champ of the world. He fought with Customato.
Right, you developed a good relationship with him.
That's right. His nickname was Chegui.
That's right.
And we used to hang out together, and he was a wonderful guy. We had a lot of, you know, he used to hang with Norman Mailer.
Mm-hmm.
And
he was an interesting guy, you know.
Very interesting guy. You know, he wrote a couple of books.
Yeah, squirrely guy too, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He would throw at people. He would have no problem. He'd throw.
And you know, he was like one of these guys. You know, he could get in a fight walking down the street.
Yeah.
So he was a sweet guy, and I had a lot of fun with him. In fact, I remember watching the Roberto Duran Carlos Palomino fight.
Right.
It was televised with Jose in a Latin bar on 8th Avenue.
Do you remember? It was on network television. It was the semifinal. Do you remember the main event?
I don't remember the main event.
It was Larry Holmes and Mike Weaver.
I'll be damned. I didn't remember that.
Yeah, it was.
But I remember it was a non-title bout.
Right.
And it was the first time that Duran stepped up to welterweight.
Correct.
And you know, I became very good friends with Carlos Palomino, and you know, he told me about that fight, and he said, you know, he was shocked at how strong Duran was at that weight. And you know, he dropped Palomino.
Yeah.
And I said, "Were you hurt?" He said, "You know, I wasn't hurt." He said, "I was dropped."
Yeah.
He said, "But I looked up and I thought, damn." You know, he said, "I got up and and he kept fighting." And he said, after the fight, Duran went over to him, and the first thing he said was, "You should retire." And Palomino got mad at him, you know, and started yelling at him, you know, "You couldn't hurt me," and blah, blah, blah. And then later, he realized that Duran wasn't being smart. He said, he was telling me the truth.
Right.
You know, he said, you're not as good as you used to be.
Right.
From what, you know, I only met him once, but I mean, apparently he was a nice guy.
You know, I've gotten to be good friends with him now, and I've been with him several times. You know, look, he's softened in his old age. Cause,
yeah, probably so.
You know, people who have known him.
Yeah, when he was young,
he was mean. He was a mean guy.
Yeah.
Just for our listeners here who just happen to be listening in, I'm talking to Youngstown's own favorite son, Ed O'Neill, star of Modern Family, television, Broadway, and whatever else he can. He's a master of all this things.
Whatever else I can get away with?
I'm sorry?
Whatever else I can get away with?
Whatever you get away with, right. But as I tell people, Eddie, they don't realize what a boxing fan, how boxing knowledgeable you are. And we're talking here about, you know, Roberto Duran and Carlos Palomino and the great welterweights of the 70s.
Oh, yeah.
You know, of course, we talked about, you know, there was the five guys, you know, Duran, Leonard,
yep,
Hearns,
yep,
Palomino, but the other guy, Wilfredo Benitez.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, this guy.
You know, I used to watch him train at Gleason's gym.
Yeah.
On, what was it, 32nd Street, right off 8th?
Right. Between the 7th and 8th.
Yeah.
And,
I used to watch him go in there and spar. He would spar. And, you know, that kid, man, was hard to hit.
You know, and that's what people don't understand. He didn't train much. I mean, one of these guys, he trained 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
He even worked out in a lazy way.
Yeah. And
you know, like he would just roll around and smile. And, you know, he looked a little crazy, you know.
And Eddie, you know what people don't realize about him? When I talked, they said, "Well, who is this?" You know, I told you a lot of young fighters, you know who Wilfredo Benitez was. And they go, "Oh, I've heard the name. I really don't know." I go, "You don't know who he is?" I said, "Let me give you a little background. How about this guy? He was the youngest world champion ever.
That's right.
At 17 years old, 17 and 8 months old.
Yeah, he was really beautiful to watch, you know.
And he beat one of the great champions of all time, a junior welterweight champion, Antonio Kid Pambale Cervantes.
Okay. Well, of course, I worked with Ray Leonard, when he did Married with Children.
Right. I didn't. He did.
Yeah, and then he also, his daughter and my daughter ride horses down here together.
Right,
So I run into him quite often.
Yeah.
And I remember he told me when he fought Benitez, because I mentioned that fight to him, and he said, "You know what? For the first 5 rounds, I couldn't hit him with that right hand."
Right.
And he said, "I kept trying to hit him with it, and finally, he said, I sat down, and Dundee said, 'Stop trying to hit him with the right hand. You're never going to hit him with that right hand.'"
Right.
So then I think he said, "Go to the body, go to,
Sure.
Use the jab more." But he could not be hit with a lead right hand.
He wins the first world title at 17 years plus X amount of months.
Yeah.
His second world title, he beat our friend that you just talked about, Carlos Palomino. He fights Carlos. He fought him in Puerto Rico and beat him. He was 20 years old when he beat Carlos. He won his third major championship in the third major weight class when he was 23 years old.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Ray,
he was a 3-time champion by the time he was 23, Eddie. He was a 3-time world champion, 3 different weight classes.
Oh, he was amazing.
But I've known when we talk, people talk about James, we talk Bernard Hopkins. He defended the title 17 times. Great champion, no doubt. But to me, one of the top 5 middleweight champs of all time, for me. And I've seen him fight, and and I know you don't agree, but is James Toney.
Oh, no.
I think,
no. He's just he's an average guy.
No.
James Toney would have got run out of the ring in the 50s.
No.
You know why, Ray? Because he's a lazy fighter.
Yeah, but he was as tough as they
no offense. He had a decent left hook.
Eddie, he was the middleweight version of Jersey Joe Walcott. I'm telling you, he would have beaten most of these guys.
He was a lazy fighter. Listen, was he slick? Yes. For his time? Yes. Roy Jones slapped him around. Roy Jones is not a great fighter.
No, well,
you can't put Roy Jones in a great fighter category.
Well,
he was just fast.
Well, he beat. I picked James Toney to beat Jones, but James Toney was lazy that fight.
What do you think Billy Conn does to Jones? Billy Conn knocks him out.
I know. Well,
he
Billy
Conn take a punch,
but Billy Conn. Well, middleweight, nobody knocking him out at middleweight. And we move up light heavyweight.
Knocks him out.
Maybe at light heavyweight. Maybe at light heavyweight.
A lot of guys would knock him out that weren't even champions.
No, I know.
I think. You know who else knocks him out? In my opinion,
who's that?
Graziano.
Knocks out who? No,
any of those guys.
Wait, James Toney?
Knocks out James Toney.
No, you don't hit James Toney. And that sounds bad for me to say.
Toney to the body. He hits him in the head.
Eddie, it sounds bad. People are going to be calling. What are you saying? All the Italian Americans. Are you out of your mind?
You're a heavyweight.
You're Italian American. Like I love Rocky. I got a chance to meet him and got to spend a little time with him.
Tony Zale knocks him out.
But. But I don't know if Tony
LaMotta chases him
they
out of the
got
ring.
to be able to hit him, and I'm telling you, he was the middleweight version.
Chases him out of the ring. I'm telling you. Who did Tony beat?
Look, I tell you what.
Who did Tony ever fight?
I'll tell you who he beat. When there's another guy who should be the top 10.
The body puncher, right?
Yeah, the body snatcher, Mike McCullum.
Yeah, McCullum was a good fighter.
He was a great fighter. He's one.
Well, I don't know if he's a great fighter.
He's in the Hall of Fame. He's got to be crazy. Well, for those listening,
like back at Il Forno.
For those listening in, I'm talking to Youngstown's own Ed O'Neill. Ed, how about some upcoming fights? I won't keep you long, but upcoming fights. What do you think of? I just talked earlier to a couple guys, and they're saying that they think that Mayweather Pac-Man is finally going to get made. What are your thoughts on that?
Ray, I don't know how much either one of them have left now.
Right.
Both guys are what? They're well into their 30s. Well, they're 37. I don't know. Now, to me, it should have happened 6 years ago.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right.
But if it happens, of course, we're going to watch it.
And who do you pick?
I think that the reason Mayweather's been ducking this guy so long is because of the style, and that he's a southpaw. And Mayweather likes to roll to his right, and that rolls right into Pacquiao's wheelhouse, you know.
No, you're right. You're right.
And so I think that matchup for Mayweather makes him uncomfortable.
No, you're right. Style-wise, it is a bad matchup because you're right.
And he hates to fight a guy that's as fast as he is.
He's pretty fast, yeah.
And real busy. You know, Mayweather likes to fight when he wants to fight.
No, you're right. And Pacquiao will make him stay busy.
Pacquiao will make him stay busy all the time.
Sure. Now, how about what do you think if Cotto Canelo? Now it looks like it's Cotto's trying to play the diva, and so Canelo.
I don't think he has a chance with
Canelo.
I don't think so. You know why I say that? Because Canelo is a very decent boxer. So is Cotto, by the way.
Yeah.
He's a better boxer than a lot of people think. But I think Canelo at this stage is a better boxer. I think he's stronger, and I think he'll nail him. I think he'll keep him on the outside and nail him.
Well, Canelo wasn't going to wait around, so his promoter, Oscar De La Hoya, says, look, we're moving on, and he just signed to fight James Kirkland. Now, that's an interesting fight. Kirkland's a tough, strong southpaw. It'd be entertaining.
The problem is he gets hit.
Yeah, but when he gets hit, he falls.
And sometimes he comes back after he's hit.
Yeah.
But I think he's going to stay hit.
Right. Eddie, and the last guy I'm going to ask you about is the guy I tell people, to me, he's the best pound for pound in the game and can be for as long as he wants, is Gennady Golovkin, Triple G. What do you think of him?
You know what? I'll tell you what. I think so far I'm very impressed with him, except I think he takes chances he doesn't need to.
Well, probably
and he gets hit.
Well, he probably tries to make it fan-friendly.
Yeah, well,
he does.
Right. He is. I mean, obviously, you love to watch him because he's in there to get the guy all the time. And I'm wondering, who's he fighting next?
Well, he's fighting Martin Murray. Martin Murray, tough guy from England who, Martin comes forward. He'll try to make it,
Yeah, but I mean, he's not,
No.
He's made to order for this guy.
Right. But you got to admire, he's kind of.
I like the guy. Yeah. I really like him.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking, for example, when you took a guy like, now what weight is he now? He's not a middleweight.
Well, middleweight. No, he's middleweight. Yeah, he's
a middleweight.
He's called
when you watch, for example, Monzon.
Right.
Monzon just kept you out on the end of that jab until he landed that right hand. He didn't take a lot of punches.
No, you're right. I
mean, now, he did get dropped by Benny Briscoe.
But he beat Benny twice, too.
But then he beat him twice.
Yeah.
But when he fought, like when he beat Montequilla, when he beat Jose Napoles, and Napoles was granted was sort of at the end of it.
And it was a welterweight moving up.
He was a welterweight moving up. But you see how smart Monzon he just stayed on the outside and just, toyed with him.
Right.
Toyed with him.
Right.
And that same way that Arguello used to fight, you know that, because you gave Arguello a hell of a fight, but he always kept, he managed the distance.
Exactly, that's a good way of putting it.
In such a beautiful way, because, there's that old saying, whoever manages the distance manages the punishment.
No,
manages the damage.
No, you're absolutely right.
And those guys would manage the distance until they decided that they were going to do some damage.
Eddie, real fast here. I mean, I'm going to ask you. So,
you haven't asked me about my sex life. I just had a little bit waiting for you.
You just texted me that.
I was by myself, but hey.
Hey, what about any? If you want to say some of your old friends here, anybody you want to give a shout out to? How about Carl? Give a shout out to Carl, who's been somewhere.
Carl Severino.
Yeah, he's been a record somewhere.
Yes. I always say, I talked to Carl not too long ago. He had lunch with my buddy Ross Locke and John Todd Hunter. Dickie Lucarell, Tony Cafaro, all those guys that I grew up with.
Yeah.
Jimmy Johns. Jim Moran.
Jimmy June.
Guys.
How about Jimmy June?
Jimmy June. I just texted Jimmy this morning. And he saw that thing we did on, You Belong Here, the thing we did for Youngstown.
Right.
And I told him, he said, well, how come you weren't at the end? They brought back everybody at the end to say, You Belong Here. And I said, well, I said You Belong Here, but not me. So I told him they can't have me say You Belong Here because I don't live there anymore.
All right, my brother. Thank you so much, Eddie. Thank you for being one of my first guests on the Boom Boom Room.
Ray, it was a pleasure.
And good, I appreciate it. We'll do it again.
Hey, Ray,
You.
stay in touch.
I will do that, my friend. I will do that.
All right. Good. Have fun with that show. It sounds like a winner.
I hope so.
All right, Ray.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye. And ladies and gentlemen, that's Ed O'Neill, Youngstown's favorite.
If you'd like to send a question in to Ray Mancini, you can do so. Boom Boom Room 570 at gmail.com. That's Boom Boom Room 570 at gmail.com. Text Ray at 330-333-1570. And once again, to be a part of the Ray Boom Boom Mancini Foundation, call Maria at 330-559-8891. That's 330-559-8891. The Boom Boom Room on 570 WKBN with Ray Mancini, proudly supported by the Ray Boom Boom Mancini Foundation. Boom, 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 boom. We're back in the Boom Boom Room with your host, Ray Boom Boom Mancini. Ray, what is this picture I'm seeing of you in Chicago this past weekend? You had yourself a pretty good time there, my man.